Bucks and Vikings game. Nobody picked the Bucks to win this game. They went out and got the win against the Vikings. Vikings looked pretty bad to start. One of those Kirk Cousins games that you see, maybe twice a year, just didn't have it going for him. And then for the Bucks, Baker Mayfield, pretty efficient overall. Made some nice throws. Mike Evans got some plays done as well. Their run game I'm concerned about, and I don't expect them to be world beaters. But for the Bucks, good week 1 win.
Yeah, for the Bucks, it's like Baker Mayfield. Let's get hyped up about that 189 yards and 2 touchdowns. What a dynamic game. But in all seriousness, Baker Mayfield did look like a quarterback playing for his life. If he can tap into that underdog 2018 mentality, I don't want to see arrogant Baker Mayfield that had that weird thing going on with OBJ, because OBJ didn't really want to be there. However, I think Baker Mayfield can stay on his cycle of being overlooked, beating a team that's kind of, they don't really know what they are this year, that's kind of having an identity crisis, and then beating some inferior teams. So I think he can actually help the Bucks win some games. He had some good chemistry with Mike Evans. However, I will say the field goal that they won on, it was a 56-yarder. It's not like he was able to march the ball down the field and give them an easy 40 to 30 yard. But as far as a debut with the team, Baker Mayfield is now 3-4. The only one he's lost was with Carolina, and that was the whole Matt Rule situation there. So overall, I thought Baker looked good. I was encouraged with Jordan Addison too. Looks like they hit on that draft pick. I'm going to look to see him get better each year. But yeah, with the Vikings, you had a negative point differential and made the playoffs last year. It's a team like the Giants, where the Giants won a lot of close games. Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, a lot more talented there. The defense looks a little bit more improved with Brian Flores. So if Brian Flores can start to put his imprint on that defense and then help them get a little bit better so they can help Kirk Cousins when he doesn't have it, on a given day, I think that'll help. But my main concern with the Vikings is they can't really run the ball. Alexander Mattison's not a one. And then there was a reason why the first time I heard that Jonathan Taylor could be available, I'm like, the Vikings need him. Because you let Dalvin Cook go, who's rushed for 1,000 yards the past 5 years, I believe. And then Kevin Stefanski really juiced him up a few years in Minnesota. But overall, still got to be able to run the ball. You don't have the talent that Miami does. I mean, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, you just can't compete with that duo. That's a team that can afford not to run the ball because their wide receivers are so good. Justin Jefferson is the man. However, you still have to run the ball. And you're not going to be able to make a deep playoff run. And you're not going to be able to win your division when you have a team like the Lions with Jared Goff, who I think is better than Kirk Cousins. And I think their weapons overall, as far as running backs, tight ends, and wide receivers, are going to overall be a better offense. And that Detroit's defense and coaching is also better than the Vikings. And you still have to worry about the Packers.
Yeah, I think they should go after Jonathan Taylor. Alexander Mattison proved to me in week 1. And I know it's week 1, we can't overreact, but I can properly react to Alexander Mattison not being the guy. It's one thing stepping in for somebody 1 or 2 games a year, but stepping in and being the bell cow week in and week out, I just don't have any stock in Alexander Mattison. I think they should go after a top running back because their offense everywhere else is pretty fantastic. I mean, Kirk Cousins, numbers-wise, top 10 quarterback. You have Jay Jeff. Jordan Addison looked like the perfect 2 for him. TJ Hawkinson, say less, but not a good way to start week 1, losing to an inferior team. But let's see how they react against Thursday Night Football against the Eagles. We'll go over that in the preview. But overall, I suspect them to be in the mix, but not overly bullish on the Vikings.
Yeah, it's going to be tough with the Vikings. The Bucks, I'm interested, and I think they'll play upset ball, and they're going to beat some teams this year. We're like, okay. But also, I'm not going to rely on Baker Mayfield. He's probably going to let me down. But in all fairness, with the Panthers didn't have the greatest weapons in the world. DJ Moore is a guy. He's a great number 2. I just don't think he's that number 1 wide receiver who's going to change your life. Like some of these guys like AJ Brown and Jamar Chase and Tyreek Hill. And then in Cleveland, just very weird vibes with Baker Mayfield. And then the whole OBJ situation was very odd to me. And then it seemed like he needed to move on from that situation. So I want Baker to be good. And he was the number 1 pick in the draft. So it's not like for lack of talent. He's just one of those guys who thinks he's more athletic than he actually is.